What if I told you that one man held the key to rewriting history? That he could change everything? Wars, tragedies, even personal regrets, with just the push of a button. But what if that same power also risked unraveling reality itself? It all started quietly enough. In 2023, SpaceX acquired assets from a defunct government contractor, a routine transaction meant to bolster their research capabilities. Among the dusty files were fragments of classified documents labeled Project Chronos. At first glance, they seemed like science fiction, schematics for machines capable of bending time, equations describing temporal displacement, and cryptic warnings about the dangers of tampering with causality. Most dismissed them as Cold War-era experiments gone nowhere. But Elon Musk didn't. Elon had always been drawn to the impossible. From building rockets in his garage to wiring together the first Tesla prototypes, he thrived on challenges others deemed insurmountable. These documents intrigued him, not because they promised wealth or fame, but because they hinted at something far greater: mastery over time itself. Could humanity finally undo its mistakes, prevent wars, save lives? The possibilities were intoxicating. Against all odds, he became obsessed. He assembled a small team of trusted engineers and physicists, pulling them into a secret underground lab hidden beneath one of his facilities. The lab was a fortress of innovation, filled with glowing monitors, humming servers, and shelves stacked high with technical manuals. For months they worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragmented research. Their goal was simple, yet terrifying: to build a device that could open a window into another timeline. The process was painstaking. Each equation had to be verified, each component tested under extreme conditions. Late nights blurred into early mornings as the team wrestled with problems no textbook could solve. They argued over ethics, debated outcomes, and wrestled with doubts. One engineer, a young woman named Dr. Elena Vasquez, often voiced her concerns. "We're playing with fire here," she warned during one heated meeting. "If we destabilize the timeline, there's no going back." But Elon pressed on. His determination bordered on obsession. He saw this not as an experiment, but as a mission, a chance to rewrite the rules of existence itself. And then, one day, it happened. The machine roared to life, a metallic sphere surrounded by spinning rings, glowing faintly as though alive. Through its shimmering surface, they glimpsed alternate versions of Earth. Some timelines showed humanity thriving on Mars, cities floating among the stars. Others revealed dystopian nightmares, worlds ravaged by nuclear war, pandemics, or environmental collapse. One version even depicted a timeline where humanity never left the Stone Age. Each glimpse was breathtaking, overwhelming, and deeply unsettling. At first, the team celebrated. They laughed, hugged, and toasted their success. It felt like they'd cracked open the universe's deepest secret. But soon, cracks began to show. Not in the machine, but in reality itself. Every test destabilized their own timeline. People began reporting strange occurrences. Déjà vu so intense it felt like living two lives at once. Electronics malfunctioned. Without explanation, shadows moved where no light should fall. Small changes spiraled out of control. A single experiment caused ripples across reality, distorting the fabric of existence itself. One evening, after a particularly ambitious trial, Elon noticed something chilling. As he scrolled through social media, he saw posts from people claiming to remember events that never happened. A mother swore her son had died in a car accident 5 years ago, even though he was sitting safely at home. A man posted pictures of a wedding that, according to everyone else, had never taken place. Reality was fracturing before their eyes. Word leaked. Whistleblowers exposed fragments of the truth, sparking mass hysteria. Governments demanded answers. Investors panicked. Conspiracy theorists claimed aliens or rogue AI were behind the chaos. The world teetered on the brink of collapse, not because of the technology itself, but because of what it revealed about our fragile existence. Side story: The Forgotten Scientist. As the chaos unfolded, Elon stumbled upon a name buried deep within the Project Kronos files: Dr. Arthur Langley. According to the documents, Langley had been the lead scientist on the original project. The 1960s. Curious, Elon tracked down what little information remained about him. What he discovered sent shivers down his spine. Dr. Langley had vanished without a trace shortly after the project was shut down. Rumors swirled that he had gone mad, driven insane by the implications of his work. Others whispered that he had disappeared into one of his own experiments, lost forever in the time stream. But the most disturbing detail came from an old newspaper clipping. Langley's final journal entry, found scribbled on the back of a napkin in his abandoned office. Time is not a river, it read. It is a mirror. Every reflection distorts the whole. Beware what you seek, for you may find only your own face staring back. Elon couldn't shake the words. They haunted him as he continued his experiments, echoing in his mind whenever doubt crept in. Was he repeating Langley's mistakes, or was he destined to surpass them and pay the price? Subplot: The Engineer's Dilemma. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Vasquez struggled with her role in the project. She had joined believing they were working toward a brighter future, but now she questioned whether they were unleashing forces beyond comprehension. Her unease reached a breaking point when she received a phone call from her younger brother, Miguel. Miguel lived in Mexico City, thousands of miles away, yet he sounded panicked. "Elena," he said, his voice trembling. "I think I'm losing my mind. I keep seeing things, people who aren't there, places I don't recognize. Last night I woke up in my bed, but the room looked completely different. Like it belonged to someone else." Elena tried to reassure him, but deep down she suspected the truth. The anomalies weren't random. They were spreading outward from the lab, like ripples in a pond. If they didn't stop soon, the entire world might unravel. That night she confronted Elon in private. "We can't keep doing this," she pleaded. "Look at what's happening. People are suffering because of us. We're tearing apart the very fabric of reality." Elon listened silently, his expression unreadable. Finally he spoke. "And if we destroy the machine? What happens to those timelines we've already altered? What happens to the people whose lives have changed because of us?" Elena had no answer. Neither did Elon. Mystery: The Shadow Timeline. As the situation worsened, the team made a startling discovery. One of their tests had inadvertently opened a portal, not to an alternate timeline, but to a shadow version of their own world. In this dark reflection, humanity had collapsed centuries ago, leaving behind only ruins and whispers of forgotten civilizations. Through the machine, they caught glimpses of this desolate landscape. Crumbling skyscrapers overtaken by vines, streets littered with rusted cars and eerie silhouettes moving in the distance. It was as though the shadow timeline was watching them, waiting for something or someone to cross over. Dr. Vasquez theorized that the shadow timeline was feeding off their experiments, growing stronger with each use of the machine. If they didn't act quickly, it might breach into their reality entirely, consuming everything in its path. Elon faced an impossible choice: destroy the machine and lose any chance of fixing the damage they'd done, or risk everything to close the rift between worlds. Sacrifice and redemption. In the end, Elon chose sacrifice. He called a press conference, standing before a global audience as cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. Behind him loomed a countdown timer labeled deactivation sequence. As the seconds ticked down, he delivered a speech that would echo through history. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Today I stand before you not as an innovator, but as a guardian. Humanity has been given a gift and a curse. The ability to manipulate time comes with unimaginable consequences. Each attempt to improve our past risks erasing our future. So, I have made a decision. The technology will be destroyed. Forever." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some shouted questions, others stared in stunned silence. On live television, the world watched as the machine was dismantled piece by piece. Engineers cried as they dismantled years of work. Sparks flew as tools cut through wires. Finally, the core of the device, the glowing sphere, was melted down into an unrecognizable lump of metal. Some called him a coward. Others hailed him as a hero. Critics accused him of hoarding knowledge for himself. Supporters praised him for protecting humanity from its own hubris. But one thing was certain. Elon Musk had chosen sacrifice over ambition. For once, the man who dreamed of conquering the stars decided to protect the ground beneath our feet. The blueprint. Weeks later, Elon walked alone on a beach at sunset. The waves lapped gently at the shore, the horizon painted in hues of gold and crimson. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, a single blueprint he had saved. It wasn't much, just a fragment of the original design, enough to remind him of what they had achieved and lost, enough to spark hope for the future, should humanity ever prove ready. As he stood there, gazing at the endless expanse of water, he thought about the lessons he'd learned. Innovation wasn't just about pushing boundaries. It was about understanding limits. Progress wasn't measured by how far we went, but by how wisely we chose to move forward. Sometimes the bravest choice wasn't to act. It was to step back. Perhaps the greatest innovation isn't changing the past. It's learning to live with the present. Because sometimes the most powerful act of creation is knowing when to stop. And so, the story ends, not with a bang, but with a whisper. A reminder that even the brightest minds must bow to the weight of responsibility, and that sometimes the bravest choice is the quietest one. But deep down, Elon knew this wasn't truly the end. Somewhere, locked away in the recesses of his mind, the dream lingered. The dream of a better tomorrow, not built on shortcuts or rewinds, but forged through hard work, patience, and faith in humanity's ability to rise above its flaws. Because the future, after all, is still unwritten.